drop shadow effect behind your blog. The first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the gap between the top of the header or the navigation and the top of the browser window, because what we're going to be doing is creating an image that spans vertically behind the site. And so if we have any gaps that show the background, it's going to look a little bit funny because we'll have a shadow extending out here but nothing to fill it in. So the first thing we want to do is go to the background borders tab in the theme options and remove the top margin. And F5 refresh. That will butt the top of the navigation or the header to the top of the browser window. Now the next thing you want to do is go in and note the width of your site. So I'm going to make this one a little bit narrower. Actually, let's just use a quick change to 880 pixels. So that'll give us a little more room so you can see the effect. Do an F5 refresh. Okay, so now we know that the width of our blog is 880 pixels. So I'm going to switch into Photoshop and I'm going to create a new document that's 880 pixels, and we'll just make this 50 pixels tall. And now what we're going to do is go in and create a shape, and we're going to make it the exact width of the site, or of the document that we created. So we now have an 880 pixel wide shape, and now what we need to do is change the canvas size of the image we're working with. The canvas size we can expand beyond the shape that we created, and by keeping this in the center we'll be able to center our shape exactly in the middle of our canvas. So I'm just going to add 40 pixels to each side, so that'll be an extra 80 pixels. So I'll put 960 pixels in the width box, leave the height where it is, and make sure this is in the center right there. Okay, and as you can see, we now have the extra 40 pixels on each side of this shape. And now we're going to create the drop shadow behind this shape. If we right click on the shape layer and choose the blending options, I'm going to turn off the gradient overlay that had been turned on from a previous tutorial, and I'm going to go into the drop shadow and turn that on, and I'm going to set the distance at 0, and I'm going to increase the size to, let's go just 27 pixels, and I'm going to bump up the opacity to 100% and click OK. And I'm just going to scoot this shape up so it's centered vertically, and I'm going to turn off the background layer, because when we save this out we're going to save it as a PNG image with transparency, and that allows the background image or the background color that we have set on our site to show through, and it'll just give us a nice drop shadow effect. And the last thing I'm going to do is change the color of the shape fill, and I'm just going to match that up with our background color that we have currently selected. So I'm just going to do a Control-C copy and get that hex color value back into Photoshop, and double click there, and down here I'm going to paste that value, click OK, and now we have the image ready to export. So we'll go File, Save for Web and Devices, and we will change this to PNG 24 and make sure the transparency is checked. And we'll just give this custom background. Save that. And now we'll go back into WordPress, into our media options. We'll click Add New. We'll select the file that we just created. And upload that. And we will highlight and Control-C copy the entire file URL that we'll paste into our options. We go back into the theme options, and we're still under the background borders tab. And under the blog background image, we're going to select a custom background image. And in the blog background custom image blank, we're going to Control-V paste the image that we just uploaded to our media library. And then we're going to change the custom background image repeat to repeat Y. And we will turn off the background top gradient. Save the changes. Do an F5 refresh. And now you can see the image that is now behind our blog, and it gives us a nice drop shadow effect. And now you can go in, since we used a transparent PNG image, you can change your colors of your background. And that drop shadow will allow that background color to show through. Now if you do change the color, you might want to change to the color that we used in Photoshop, just so that if there's any delay in the page loading, it doesn't show the blue image when you have a green background. And that's all there is to it to create a custom drop shadow effect for Flex Squeeze.